Welcome to the Psychology and Physical Training channel. The importance of measuring attitudes in psychology. Has it ever crossed your mind why psychologists take the time to measure attitudes? The answer lies in the profound impact that attitudes have on our behaviors and perceptions. Attitudes, in essence, are our evaluations of people, objects, or ideas, and they are formed through our experiences and social interactions. Measuring attitudes, psychologists can predict behaviors. If we understand a person's attitude towards a particular subject, we can often anticipate their actions. Instance, someone with a positive attitude towards recycling is more likely to engage in recycling behaviors. Furthermore, measuring attitudes helps in informing interventions. If we know the general attitude towards mental health, we can develop campaigns or interventions to challenge negative attitudes and promote positive change. Understanding attitudes is crucial in shedding light on social issues. It helps us grasp why certain societal problems persist and how we can address them. We delve deeper into this topic. We'll explore the different scales used in measuring attitudes. Bogardus Social Distance Scale. First up on our list of scales is the Bogardus Social Distance Scale. This intriguing tool is named after its creator, Emery S. Bogardus, a pioneering sociologist who developed the scale in the early 20th century. The Bogardus Social Distance Scale is designed to measure an individual's willingness to participate in social connections of varying degrees with members of diverse social groups. It's essentially a measure of the distance, not in a physical sense, but rather in a metaphorical one, that a person maintains from members of different social groups. Scale ranges from close relations, such as marriage, to more remote interactions, like being a co-citizen of the same country. Essence: the scale is comprised of a series of statements about potential social interactions with members of a specified group. Respondents are asked to select the statement that best reflects their personal feelings and attitudes. Lower the score, the less social distance the respondent feels toward the group in question, indicating a more positive attitude. The Bogardus Social Distance Scale has been lauded for its simplicity and straightforwardness. It's easy to administer and understand, making it a popular choice for researchers looking to gauge attitudes towards different social groups. It provides a quantitative measure of social distance, which can be crucial in studies where statistical analysis is required. However, it's important to note that the scale is not without its weaknesses. Argue that the scale assumes attitudes are stable and unchanging, which we know is not always the case, can fluctuate based on a variety of factors, including context, mood, and recent experiences. The scale may not capture the complexity and nuance of social attitudes. All our feelings towards different social groups are often multifaceted and cannot be reduced to a single number. This scale has its limitations. It provides a unique perspective on social attitudes. Next time you're exploring the fascinating world of social psychology, remember the Bogardus Social Distance Scale and the insights it can offer into our complex social world. Likert Scale. Next, we have the Likert Scale, a common tool in the world of psychology, named after the psychologist Likert, who developed this scale in the early 20th century. The Likert Scale is a psychometric scale, commonly used in research that employs questionnaires. This scale is designed to measure attitudes or opinions by asking respondents to express their level of agreement or disagreement with a series of statements. Each question or statement has a set of response options, typically ranging from strongly agree to strongly disagree. These responses are then assigned numerical values, for example, 1 point for strongly disagree and 5 points for strongly agree. Likert's scale is often composed of an odd number of response options, typically 5 or 7. This allows for a neutral or undecided option in the middle. However, even-numbered scales can also be used when researchers want to force a choice and avoid neutral responses. Now, how does the Likert scale compare with the Bogardus Social Distance Scale we discussed earlier? Scales aim to measure attitudes, but they do so in different ways. Bogardus scale measures people's willingness to participate in social contacts of varying degrees of closeness with members of diverse social groups. More about assessing social distance. the other hand, the Likert scale is a more general tool that can be applied to a variety of topics, not just social distance. About gauging agreement or disagreement with a series of statements. Of the strengths of the Likert scale is its simplicity. It's easy to understand and use, which makes it a popular choice among researchers. However, it's important to remember that, like any tool, it has its limitations. Instance, it assumes that attitudes can be measured on a linear scale, and that each response category is equidistant from the others. Its simplicity, the Likert scale, is a powerful tool in measuring attitudes. Been around for nearly a century, and it continues to be widely used in psychology and other social sciences. The next time you're filling out a survey, take a moment to appreciate the Likert scale and the insights it provides. Thurstone's scale. From Likert, we move to Thurstone's scale. As we delve into this method, we are venturing into the realms of a unique approach in measuring attitudes. Developed by Louis Leon Thurstone, one of the founding fathers of psychometrics, this scale, also known as the method of equal appearing intervals, adds a different flavor to the mix. Likert's scale, which uses a range of responses to a single statement, Thurstone's scale features a series of statements, each representing a different position on an attitude continuum. Statement is assigned a numerical value based on the degree of the attitude it represents. This is done by a panel of judges who rate each statement independently, and the average of their ratings becomes the value for that statement. The beauty of Thurstone's scale is that it allows for a more specific and nuanced understanding of attitudes. Like turning the brightness up on a photo, you start to see details you didn't notice before. It takes into account the fact that attitudes are not merely positive or negative, but rather exist on a spectrum. Now let's see how Thurstone's scale stands out when compared to the Bogardus social distance scale. Latter measures one's willingness to participate in social contacts of varying degrees of closeness with members of diverse social groups. It's a very specific tool, while Thurstone's scale is more general and can be applied to a wide variety of attitudes. One thing to note, though, is that Thurstone's scale is more labor-intensive than either Likert's scale or Bogardus' social distance scale. Requires the development and rating of many statements, which can be time-consuming. The payoff is a more detailed and nuanced understanding of attitudes. There it is, Thurstone's scale. A bit more work, but a lot more detail. It's the tool of choice when you really want to get under the skin of an attitude, to understand not just whether it's positive or negative, but how strong it is and what form it takes. Thurstone's scale, with its interval measurement, offers a more nuanced view of attitudes. This in your toolkit, you're well equipped to tackle the complexities of measuring attitudes in your psychology studies. Osgood and Tannenbaum's scale. Last but not least, we have Osgood and Tannenbaum's scale. This scale is quite unique, as it utilizes a semantic differential technique to measure attitudes. What do we mean by semantic differential technique? It's a method that gauges the meaning of words to people. Might sound complex, but trust me, it's not as complicated as it might initially seem. Osgood and Tannenbaum came up with this scale in the mid-20th century to measure the connotative meaning of concepts, objects, and events. It's interesting how they approached this. Believe that every concept we encounter is evaluated on three basic dimensions: evaluation, potency, and activity. Refers to how good or bad we perceive something to be, is about how strong or weak it is, and activity relates to whether it's active or passive. Using these three dimensions, Osgood and Tannenbaum's scale asks people to rate a concept on a series of bipolar adjectives. Instance, one might rate a concept like democracy on a scale from good to bad, strong to weak, and active to passive. The ratings are then used to create a semantic profile of the concept. So, how does this scale compare to the others we've discussed? Unlike the Bogardus social distance scale, which measures social distance, or the Likert and Thurstone scales, which focus on agreement or disagreement with statements, and Tannenbaum's scale delves into the connotative meanings people assign to concepts. It provides a more nuanced understanding of attitudes. Scale is particularly useful when you want to explore the cultural meanings of concepts. or when you're interested in how different groups might interpret the same concept differently. A tool that lets us peek into the minds of people, capturing the subtleties of their attitudes. In conclusion, while each of the scales we've discussed has its own strengths and applicability, and Tannenbaum's scale offers a unique approach, it allows us to explore attitudes in a multidimensional way, helping us to understand not just what people think, but how they perceive and interpret concepts. Osgood and Tannenbaum's scale allows us to explore attitudes in a multidimensional way. Key points. Now, let's revisit the key points we've covered in this video. We dove deep into the Bogardus social distance scale, a tool that gauges people's willingness to participate in social contacts of varying degrees of closeness with members of diverse social groups. Then, we discussed the Likert scale, a popular method for measuring attitudes by asking respondents to agree or disagree with a series of statements. We also explored Thurstone's scale, a technique that allows us to quantify attitudes by rating various statements related to the attitude object. Lastly, we examined Osgood and Tannenbaum's scale, a semantic differential scale that evaluates a person's psychological response to a concept or object. Each of these scales has its strengths and weaknesses, but they all contribute significantly to measuring attitudes in psychology. They help us predict behaviors, design interventions, and better comprehend our social world. Remember, the understanding and measurement of attitudes are crucial in psychology. It helps us predict behaviors, design interventions, and better understand our social world. And if you like this video, do not forget to subscribe and follow to the Psychology and Physical Training channel for more videos. Thanks for watching.